It is Sunday, the 15th of October 2017, and I'm more or less towards the end of my protest outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal today. It's been quite a good one. Had some very interesting little interactions with people and some very interesting coincidences today. Not just one or two coincidences, but a small handful of rather unusual, somewhat meaningful coincidences, also known as synchronicity. Oh, don't hit me with that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
That's quite an impressive sword, sir. Or is it a lance?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. You looking for windmills? I'm not mocking you. Actually, I find it really quite interesting. Yeah. What is it? Are you with the anachronism or whatever they call it? Well, they're like a group of people that reenact medieval stuff. You look more like 16th century.
I'm a bit of a time traveler.
Oh, okay. So am I. In my own way. So enjoy. Or are you wrapping it up today?
I'm coming back from a long night.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Enjoy your hobby, sir. So this guy walks by with this huge wooden sword. And that's the first time I've seen anything like that, actually. I mean, I've seen people with, very sort of regular sized swords and shields and stuff like that. People who reenact medieval, jousting and so on. Never seen someone with a sword that's like 7 or 8 feet long. Basically a gigantic stake with a handle on it. Anywho, we're just going to continue protesting a little bit longer today. Basically just getting some people exiting the Unitarian Church of Montreal. So, had some interesting little interactions with passers-by, like that guy that just walked by with his huge sword. So anyhow, we're just going to continue protesting for 10 or 15 minutes at least, but I'll decide how much longer I want to extend it after that, and we'll see what does or does not happen. But it's really been quite a good protest today. You had some very interesting interactions with people, and went over a variety of issues with my monologue. So I'm really getting a chuckle out of this wayside pulpit. It's actually played an interesting role at least twice today. This is the Unitarian Church of Montreal's wayside pulpit, which until a few weeks ago contained the Unitarian Church of Montreal's quite laughable mission statement. A mission statement that was completely devoid of any moral or ethical content. Just a bunch of wishy-washy bullshit, essentially, that could be interpreted either in a quite positive way, which is obviously how Montreal Unitarians wanted it to be interpreted, but it could also be interpreted in a very negative way. I won't repeat what I said about that earlier, but what I will repeat is how this saying, laughter is the shortest distance between two people, can actually be interpreted in two quite different ways that are nonetheless both equally valid. Obviously, this is like Victor Borgia. Yeah, so Victor Borgia, he was something of a comedian. So I think what he was saying, or wanting to say, is that laughter, sharing in humor, basically makes for closer relationships between two people. That when you're both laughing together, at something, that it basically makes the relationship closer. Well, I guess maybe Victor Borgia didn't consider that when you're laughing at another person, so when one person is laughing at another of two people in a way that's basically, you know, showing disrespect and contempt and so on, that also shortens the distance between them, but in a rather negative way. It basically increases hostility and animosity and so on. You know, so when you're like rudely laughing in someone's face, that'll bring you closer, all right, but might just end up in a physical confrontation, which I, by the way, do not approve of at all. I do not approve of responding to, you know, words or laughter with physical violence, but I do recognize that it does happen. I've been what? Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah.
What is this about?
I'm protesting against a variety of issues, but perversion of justice in a variety of different ways.
What justice?
Well, yeah, no, but I'm talking about how this religious community actively perverts justice. What?
This one particularly?
Yeah, this one, the church locally, but also the bigger community. For instance, here's one of the worst perversions of justice.
Okay, tell me.
The head office in Boston for the Unitarian Universalist religion, their Vatican as it were, hired their Canadian attorney up here to have me served with a demand letter which falsely accused me of violating Canada's blasphemy law because I was blogging.
Canada has a blasphemy
It
law?
does. I found out the hard way, or the fun way actually, but but anyways, it was fucking hilarious. So anyway, I mean, can you imagine being accused of violating a blasphemy law in 21st century Canada by atheists? Because they're actually atheists. But anyway, getting back, but here's what they accused me.
Okay.
And this is where it gets just pretty despicable. Here's the exact words from the letter. Your unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape are defamatory. And then it went on to say that these allegations were so defamatory that they amounted to the criminal act of blasphemous libel.
Okay.
In other words, take down the fucking blog post about our pedophiles and rapists, thank you very much. The only problem was my web postings were not unfounded. They were based on newspaper reports about people who were convicted and went to jail.
I see.
And second of all,
But how the fuck did they find you through your blog post?
oh no, I'm famous. They know me. Oh no, my email address is in the blog post, but they actually hired a private detective to try and track down my address, because you have to be served by a bailiff, right? They sent an email because they couldn't find me. And I knew that a private detective was looking for me because my brother called me up a few days earlier, and he said, "Hey, this private detective is looking for you," and I didn't know what it was about. And I go, I thought I'd call him up anyway to see what it was about. So when I see that that's probably what it's about, I phoned the guy up. I said, "Are you looking for me?" "Oh, thank you for calling me, Mr. Edgar. I'm so happy to hear from you."
Never even heard of this church before.
Yeah. Well, very few people have heard about Unitarians, but anyway, to make a long story short, you know, that is a perversion of justice. They're accusing me of violating a criminal law that carries a 2-year jail sentence if I'm convicted. Why? Because I'm talking about their pedophiles and rapists. That's perversion of justice.
You gotta go to court for that shit?
No, because I totally blew them out of the water. I mean, it's total bullshit. I just humiliated the lawyer and all, and I posted that to the internet too. If you search Unitarians and blasphemous libel, you'll have a good chuckle.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thanks for the handshake. Yeah. So yes, oh look, I'm laughing again. Yes, laughter is the shortest distance between two people. I think in this case the laughter was, you know, the shortest distance in the way I was talking about, the positive way, that yeah, you're sharing in laughter. Although we were actually laughing at some assholes, essentially, hypocritical assholes, if I don't mind saying so myself. So anyhow, but yeah, it's laughter can indeed be the shortest distance between two people, including laughing at outrageously hypocritical Unitarians. So are they recruiting at McGill?
Huh?
Are they recruiting at McGill?
No, they aren't.
They don't have ads or anything?
No.
Okay, because they used to advertise at McGill and Concordia to, you know, lure in some young meat to fill in the gaps of all the older ones that are dying. So this young guy, he joined up with a little group of people, and I think one of them at least had a McGill backpack. It might even be him. Now, of course, the fact that they're wearing a McGill backpack doesn't necessarily mean that they're from McGill, but it's a pretty good indication. And in the past, the Unitarian Church of Montreal has, in fact, advertised in the student newspapers at McGill and Concordia, basically, you know, attracting university students to come to their outrageously hypocritical church. So I thought I'd ask, you know, I thought if, you know, he was there as a result of some kind of recruitment effort. You know, from what I've heard, actually, very, very recently, actually, is somebody, a cyclist actually stopped and talked with me. Unfortunately, I don't have a recording of that because I was in the middle of writing a chalk slogan, and I rarely have my camera running when I'm in the middle of writing chalk slogans because it's ultra boring, and I can't really talk while I'm doing it. So this cyclist, good day, sir. Feel free to post that to... I think the guy took a shot. So I think he said good too. So yeah, maybe he will post it. Yeah, the more people that post photos, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Anyhow, getting back to things, this cyclist told me that the CJEP professor of her daughter was telling her daughter that she was a member of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. So yeah, it could be sort of like, hey, you know, I'm a Montreal Unitarian, you know, why don't you come check out my church kind of thing. So, you know, there could still be some, you know, one-on-one recruiting going on in Montreal CJEPs and universities and so on. Anyhow, so yes, getting some people still coming out of church. So I'll stick around a while. I had some very interesting little interactions. And you know, one thing I discovered long ago is that essentially for every half-hour segment of protesting, there's usually at least one interaction with either the public or a Montreal Unitarian or the SPVM police for that matter, that makes that half hour of protest worthwhile. And today we've actually had quite a few interactions. I say we've had probably 2 or 3 interactions per half hour period. I haven't really been keeping track, but there's definitely been at least 4 or 5 things that have happened today that I think are quite worthwhile. Interesting little interactions with the public and people entering and leaving the Unitarian Church of Montreal and so on. So we'll keep it up a little bit longer. Got a few friendly honks, or at least one anyway. Got some thumbs up and some respectful nods and some smiles. Got some interesting conversations with a few people, including one we just had. So yeah, definitely worthwhile protest today. So do you know that the Unitarian Universalist religious community is falsely accusing me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel for blogging about Unitarian Universalist?
No.
Well, now you know. It's a complete violation of everything they claim.
Protesting?
Well, that's one of the reasons. This is actually a recent development.
Yeah.
In other words, my protest began before they did that.
Okay.
But they just raised the ante.
Okay.
So yes, they're the Unitarian Universalist Association, which is the, you know, Vatican, if you will, of the Unitarian Universalist religious community in the United States and more generally North America, hired a Canadian lawyer to have me served with a demand letter which said the following words, amongst others: your unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape are defamatory. And it went on to say that these allegedly unfounded and vicious allegations were so defamatory that they constituted a criminal act of blasphemous libel, which carries a 2-year jail term if you're convicted of it.
Are you?
So, am I what?
convicted?
Of course not.
You're not.
I'm not even remotely guilty of it. It's total bullshit. Even if it was true that I was making false accusations, which I'm not, I blogged about people who were charged, tried, and convicted and went to jail because I was protecting myself from that kind of bullshit. Even if I was actually making unfounded and vicious allegations about pedophiles and rapists, it would not constitute blasphemous libel.
Okay.
It might constitute ordinary libel, you know, like where you can be sued for, but the criminal act of blasphemous libel is essentially blasphemy. It's essentially like, it's a fancy legal word for saying that you're committing blasphemy against the church.
Yeah.
You know, you're blaspheming against Unitarian Universalists. So I enjoyed asking the lawyer the following question. Do Unitarian Universalists hold such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape to be sacred and holy to Unitarian Universalism, at least when committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers? Because that's the only circumstance under which I could be blaspheming against Unitarian Universalists for criticizing their pedophiles and rapists. So, been having a lot of fun with it.
Okay, man. Have a nice
Anyways,
day.
total hypocrisy, and everyone in this church is complicit in it.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, it's always a nice day when I'm accused of blasphemy. It doesn't get better, especially by Unitarians. Oh yeah, we're laughing again. Oh dear, oh dear. And I'm not just laughing because there's signs here. Like, this is just like, because it's so ludicrous. You know, I was laughing long before the sign was ever put up. But, you know, yeah, aren't we having fun today? I wonder how long this is going to stay up. I got a funny feeling that once Montreal Unitarians see that I'm laughing at them, they'll probably change their wayside pulpit, because they probably don't enjoy being laughed at. Anyhow, we're having loads of fun today. And, you know, laughter is very therapeutic, actually. It's good for you. So the more I